Let's bump up to level 3. Holy shit! The front freaking lifted. Holy shit. What is going on, my raspy riders? This is my Super73 Z-Miami, and this is going to be part 2 of a 72 volt build process. I am super excited because now we have our motor and our battery. This battery was custom made from a Morge, and it came all the way from China with sea shipping, so that took a while. So let's open that up first to see what the battery looks like, and we can get it charging so it'll be ready to go once we have everything put together. We have a QS10. This thing is so beefy. This thing's huge. If you guys want a comparison, this is a QS8 and this is a QS10. Look how much bigger it is. We're gonna be able to push some major amps with this. Grab this guy. Oh my gosh, this thing's so heavy. So you guys can already see the shape of the battery. It's gonna fit in our frame pretty nicely. Oh my gosh, this thing is massive. Jeez, I definitely gotta weigh this out later. Morge did a great job with the shape. Battery specifications: 72 volt, 60 amp hour, 4,320 watt hours, and the max continuous discharge is 300 amps. Whoa, this thing is gonna fly. All right, I'm gonna get this charged up so we can start with putting the tire and tube on the motor. So this is our 5,000 watt motor. These holes are usually covered by rim tape. I never use rim tape for any of my builds, not even my Anioki one right there. Instead, I always just use duct tape. There are two things I firmly believe in this world: duct tape and zip ties. All right, this is my duct tape / rim tape job. Is it a little ghetto? Yes. But does it work? Also yes. These are going to be the tubes that I use. They're called Heb Heavy Duty. They also make some good tires that are on Amazon called the Heb Allscape. These tubes feel way better than other tubes that I felt. It even says the tire name right there, Heb Allscape. Those aren't the tires we're going to be using though, because we're going to be using motorcycle tires, Shinkos 3x16. And these will fit any typical 4x20 fat tire e-bikes. This is just soapy water right here. We're getting there. So close. Oh yeah. We got them in without any tire levers. The Shinko 244s are so much easier to put on than those freaking street tires. Don't get me wrong, I love those street tires, but they're a biatch to put on. These are so much easier. Now the next step is to remove the front tire and install the motorcycle tires on this one. Off with the old tire. Ow. My hand slipped and I just punched and broke this reflector, which I don't care about, but I get a little cut. I'll deal with that later. Whoa, we got the front tire on and it is looking good, looking beefy like a ribeye. Now, the next step, we gotta take off the rotor on the stock motor and put it on our 5 kilowatt one. Now the trick to removing these screws without stripping it is to heat them up, because usually they come with some Loctite already on there. So you want to loosen it up by heating the bolts. Just hold it for a few seconds. Boom! Just like that. Look at that, coming out. I've stripped so many of these, I had to learn the hard way. So learn from my mistakes. All 5 screws removed without a problem. I've had so much trouble in the past where I stripped the shit out of those screws. So I had to use a Dremel, cut into it, and then use a flathead. But this time, no problems. Our new motor does come with new bolts, so we're gonna use these. When you guys put your rotor screws back in, you gotta make sure you put blue Loctite, or else these bolts will slowly come up sometimes with all the vibration because you're going high speed, and it'll start cutting this. So you gotta be careful. Put blue Loctite. Alright, now we're gonna install our motor. Oh yeah, it lined up perfectly. Look at that. So we got the motor to fit perfectly. And all we needed was a torque washer on the rotor side. 1 torque washer. We know that fits perfectly now. We're gonna remove the chain later again because when we install the Fardriver, it has to do this auto learn function where it kind of gets to know your motor. And what happens is you have to pin the throttle, right? Then the motor will spin really fast and you'll be expecting that. But what a lot of people don't expect is that you're supposed to keep holding the throttle until the motor goes in reverse. And if your chain is connected when it goes in reverse, your cranks are gonna spin crazy fast, and sometimes that might hit you or something else, and it's just really scary. So when I do the auto learn, I'm gonna take off the chain. I'm just gonna put my caliper back on now, and that's pretty much it for the motor installation. Then it starts getting a little more technical with the wiring and dealing with the Fardriver. I wanna make sure I get my wiring right with my throttle and my ignition and a 3-speed switch, that too. We're gonna start with the 3-speed switch. Now, this harness connects to the Fardriver, and it is the only connector that is blue. So that's how you know it's a 3-speed switch. And if you're curious on how I know that, I just googled Fardriver wiring diagram, and then something like this will pop up. So it comes with a white connector that's attached to it as well. And the 3-speed switch is optional. You don't have to have it, right? You can have 100% of your power at all times. But in my opinion, that could be a little dangerous. So if you don't want the 3-speed switch, you just connect these two together. Okay, bam. Now you don't need a 3-speed switch. But because I want a 3-speed switch, I'm gonna take this connector off these wires, and I'm gonna put these wires from the 3-speed switch on there. It might look like we need to extend those wires too. Dang it, this thing's kind of short. I'll extend it later. First, I'm gonna put this connector on these pins. There's a little tab on the pins, so I'm just gonna use a needle to push down on those tabs so that I can pull out the pin. This needle is still too weak. Let me go find something stronger. We're gonna use a little Allen key. Boom! And it came out. And that's what I'm gonna do with this wire too. So I learned this from my Anioki build. We're gonna connect the 3-speed switch black to the Fardriver black, the 3-speed switch red to the Fardriver yellow, and the 3-speed green to the Fardriver blue. So that's how we gotta line it up when we put these pins in this connector. Black belongs in the middle. If we're looking at it from the tab side, the green will go above the black. And then the last one, red on the bottom. Perfect. Now it should plug in perfectly. Bam. Just like that. Based off the wiring diagram for the Fardriver, this red, green, and black should be for the throttle. And it does match up perfectly for our throttle because there is also a red, green, and black. It's the wrong connector. So I'm gonna take these pins out and do some some twisting and some electrical tape. This is the connector for the throttle. I can't seem to depin these, so I'm just gonna cut it off. Now I'm gonna take these sleeves off. It'll look something like this. And I'll just wrap the black in the black, red and red, and green, twist them up, electrical tape them, and that'll be it. This one orange wire is the ignition. So the blue from my throttle and ignition needs to connect here. So I'm gonna connect these two. So the yellow will go to the red over here, so it can give us a readout for our voltmeter. So for this yellow wire, I'm going to create an O-ring. I'm just going to bend it, make a loop, and then twist. And now we got an O-ring. I'm going to place it right here with the red. I'm going to screw that down later with the battery. Okay, so this is what I got so far. On the throttle and the voltmeter and the ignition, I have it connected to my Fardriver harness, and it looks like this. I know it looks super ghetto, but that's the way I've always done things. And now I'm just gonna electrical tape all this up and test it out. All right, we're gonna weigh this battery. 20.1 kilograms. Jeez, what is that, like 40 something pounds? Hey Siri, what is 20 kilograms in pounds?
44.09 pounds.
44 pounds. Oh my goodness. All right, everything is hooked up, ghetto style. Let's see if we get power to our voltage meter. Oh snap. It's even reading correctly, 84 volts. But it's nice to know that we pretty much did everything right with the wiring. So that's pretty much it. We just gotta hook up our hall sensor and find a place for our battery and our controller. All right guys, there's pretty much nowhere I can put the controller that will be convenient. Back here, I would need a battery extender. In front over here, these are now air forks. So if I hit the brakes and this thing comes down, then the controller will hit the tire. The only place I can think of is right here. So I gotta create some holes so that I can zip tie it. I won't even be able to drill it in. It just doesn't fit correctly, but I will be able to zip tie it. It is not on the weld, but it is close to the weld. Everyone says not to drill on the weld, so I'm pretty much right next to it. All right, so that's pretty much how I'm gonna have it, minus all the messy zip ties. But yeah, I think the battery can fit. Let's test it real quick. Yeah, that's right. It fits. Look at that. Look at that. This bike is gonna have range for days. Okay, I got my phase wires for my motor cable hooked up. Blue to blue, green to green, yellow to yellow. And now I'm gonna plug in the hall sensors. That should be it, besides for the battery, which is right here. Plug in the battery. Now let's turn it on. We might need to turn off the temperature sensor. Let's go into the Fardriver app. This might look different if you're on Android. I'm gonna go to my Bluetooth, scan, controller MD. I wonder if that's it. I'm gonna connect. Yep, it's connecting. And then you press connected, and it will tell you to bound the controller. So bound. I guess we're bounded. Parameters down here. Open Pro Enable. Let's see if there's a temperature sensor. Yep, temperature sensor. Under parameters. None. And then I'm gonna put the max line current to, let's just go 100 for now, just so we can do the auto learn. And then boost line current, also 100. I'm gonna max phase current, just go 200. Boost phase current, also 200. Save. I'm also gonna change the pole pairs to 23. That's what the listing on AliExpress says, 23 pole pairs. Save. Let's see if our throttle works. Come on, throttle. Oh, it spins. So I guess all that's left is to do the auto learn. Let's make sure the chain is off. Cool, the chain is off. Nothing will hit. Perfect. Okay, at the very bottom, if we go to graph, and then click auto learn right there. It's gonna say enter self-learning status. Press enter. And then we just hold the throttle and pin it down. Yeah, this gets scary. You just keep holding it. It's gonna slow down and it's gonna go in reverse. Right there. A lot of accidents will happen if you don't take that chain off, because the pedals will start spinning really fast. I'm just gonna keep holding it. And they beep, so we're good to go. I think that's it. So now all there is just to clean up the wires and extend this 3-speed switch so I can have it on my handlebars. That's pretty much it. Now that the auto learn is complete, we're gonna go back to Open Pro Enable down here. It's gonna take us to parameters, and I'm gonna set my line current, my boost line current, to 250. I set it that high because this battery can handle 300 amps. So I'm gonna go 250, and then the max line current also 250. The max phase current, I'm gonna do 450. And the boost phase current, also 450. And then I'll press save down here. Now, I'm gonna go into ratios and gear. Ratios and gear is for the 3-speed switch. It says low speed line ratio, 25%. That 25% means 25% of the 250 that we set. So on switch number 1, if it's 25% and we have our line current to 250 times 25%, that equals 62 amps. So that's still too high for level 1. I want level 1 to be around 30 to 35 amps, just so I can get to like 30 miles per hour. If we set the low speed line ratio to 12%, that'll give us 30 amps from the battery. And then the low speed phase ratio. So phase amps is pretty much your torque, from what I know. That's how fast you'll accelerate. And 50% of 450 would be like 225. So that's way too high phase amps for level 1. I'm gonna change that also. If we change it to 22%, that'll give us about 100 phase amps. I think that's gonna be some pretty good torque for level 1. And then the low speed RPM, I'm still not sure about. it'll cut your motor off. So let's say you set your amps, your DC amps, right, to 100 amps, which will get you to, I don't know, 55, 60 miles per hour. If you set your RPMs to a certain amount, you can cut it off at like 30 miles per hour. So right now it says 608 RPMs. I'm not sure what to set that to, so I'm gonna ride around later and then change that accordingly. But let's move on to the mid speed line ratio, which is level 2. Level 2 of mid speed line ratio is 50%. That means that from the battery, it'll draw about 125 amps. So that's kind of a lot. I'd rather do like 80 amps. So if we set that to 32%, that'll give us about 80 amps on level 2. For that phase, I probably want that, I don't know. We can try 50%. I don't know, this is gonna be guess and check. And then the RPM 782, I'm just gonna leave it like that for now. And like I said, adjust accordingly. And I'm gonna press save. So that's pretty much it. I still gotta hook everything up, you know, clean it all up, clean the wiring, get my ratchet straps to hold the battery. But that's pretty much it. I'm gonna do that and then we'll see what that looks like in a bit. Alright guys, everything is hooked up. The battery's on there. I wrapped it with some fake leather I got at Joann's like fabric store. It was like 15 bucks for I think a yard's worth. But yeah, everything's hooked up. I'm gonna order like some wire management sleeves to cover everything because it is a mess over here. Definitely gonna clean all that up. Yeah, this is pretty much it. This is crazy. I don't have my GPS on here because we're not gonna do any official test runs yet. Level 1 feels so torquey already. Jeez. Let's bump up to level 3. Holy shit! The front freaking lifted. Holy shit.